So we don't even have sewer hookups.
Yeah, it's kind of been a crazy thing, but there's been a lot of benefits to this. And reselling, it's amazing, because if you would have told us 3 years ago that this is what our life would look like, we wouldn't have believed you. How's it going, guys? Mike here from PHP Podcast, and I'm joined by my beautiful wife, Heather.
Hey, guys.
So we decided to do something a little bit different today, and a while back, my wife and I made a big change. We talked about it on the podcast, and we decided that we were going to downsize like crazy, move into a fifth wheel. So we're doing RV living, completely off the grid. And my wife left her great corporate job in order to become basically a full-time reseller and help me out with the reselling business and take care of our son. So a lot of people, when we decided to do this, said we were crazy. They didn't think it was going to be a good idea. Some people were on board and wanted to kind of know more. So we figured we'd do it's been over a year now. So
it's been almost 2 years.
Oh my gosh.
Which is crazy.
All right. So 2 years now. And so the question is, was it worth it? Did we make the right move? Was this what we should have done? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So the first part we want to talk about is why. Why did we decide to do this? So part of the problem was my wife and I were both working full time, and we had just had our first son. He had some medical complications, and it was tough because we couldn't put him in a daycare near us. So we had to drive. It's like 40 minutes to get to where her mom was. And then we drop him off so we can go to work, and then we go pick him up. And basically all we were doing was putting our son to bed and getting dressed in the morning.
Him in the car.
Yeah, that was our life.
Yeah.
And, we wanted to do something else. And I started doing the reselling thing. She kind of got on board. In fact, she was... I
was super against it because he wanted to take my garage. He wanted to move my car out of the garage. And I was like, nope, you can have a little tiny shelf. We'll call it a day. And then all of a sudden, just all these sales started coming in. He would go to garage sales and be like, look, I bought this for 50 cents. And then the next thing I know, it was selling for like $60. And so all of a sudden I thought, this is something. This could be something big.
Yeah. And so as we started to get more and more money through reselling, we were like, you know what? Let's do something crazy, right? Like what if, as you guys know, if you watch the show, Orlando, he's a full-time reseller, and that just wasn't where we were at yet. But we're like, what if that was something my wife did? What if Heather decided to kind of do a little bit more of the reselling? I can kind of do some sourcing. She could help me on the pictures, the listing, all the stuff that she actually doesn't mind doing. Shipping, that's the worst, but she's so good at it. And so we decided, all right, well, we could do this if you stayed home and the reselling, but money was going to be really, really tight. And one of the things that we all do reselling for is we're trying to free up our lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We want to have a lifestyle where we have more choices, more freedom. And so the last thing we wanted to do was
pick up another full-time job.
Yeah. So for my wife for her to be stuck working even harder than she was working, for us to be making less, and then still have to put my son in some kind of a daycare. So luckily her parents owns a piece of undeveloped land, and there's benefits and cons to that, but we decided to get a fifth wheel. We moved out here, and we've been doing all of our reselling and living out of an RV. So we've got all of our stuff off site, so we have to drive a little bit to get to our storage.
Yeah, 10 minutes. It's not too bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad. But we're thinking about actually building out here a shed or kind of like a mini barn. I'm not a construction worker by any means, but I've gotten more handy since living out in the wilderness. And we're completely off the grid here. So our reselling business and our lifestyle is kind of strange to a lot of people, right? Like a lot of people, they don't understand what we're doing. We live completely off the grid. We don't even have internet out here. We just use our phone. We are completely on solar. We're not connected at all.
The company comes and dumps our bathroom every 3 months, so we don't even have sewer hookups.
Yeah, it's kind of been a crazy thing, but there's been a lot of benefits to this. And reselling, it's amazing, because if you would have told us 3 years ago that this is what our life would look like, we wouldn't have believed you. But here we are, and we've got this beautiful fifth wheel on this beautiful land, and now we have equity. So no matter what ends up happening, we're paying this thing off. We're paying, more than we were paying in rent in some ways, but now we're building equity. We have more freedom, and it's been pretty good. So what have been your positives of living in a fifth wheel?
My positives. Well, it's crazy because this time, 3 years ago exactly, I was dropping off my 4-month-old to go back to work. And that was extremely hard. So my positives for sure are I have now, he's 3.5. I've been home with him for almost, the 2 years that we've been living here, and just seeing the positives in him, just him flourishing and growing and just enjoying all that stuff that I would have missed at work was definitely probably a huge, huge positive for me.
Yeah, no, that's great. And, we didn't mean to be minimalists. That wasn't like our point in all of this. It just kind of happened, right? We had to sell all of our stuff. Basically,
we weren't going to store it. We decided there's no reason to store it because we knew this was going to be at least 3 to 5 years. And I was like, we're not putting it in storage just to either get ruined, or in 5 years, us open the storage and we're like, oh, this isn't even our house style anymore. So yeah, sold everything. I would say 97% of our stuff was sold.
And let me just say, we're not like adamant, like you should become minimalist, people should be minimalist, but we don't have TV. We don't have internet. We use our phone for things that we need to do. We go places if we need to do stuff, bigger than that. But it's actually freed us up. We go on walks. We play board games. We hustle, right? So we have the time to do those things. And it's amazing how much more it's pulled our family together. So are there downsides to living in a fifth wheel, to small living? There's a few, right? There's a few things that are a challenge. Being off the grid is problems. When there's storms, when the weather's bad, when there's no sun, we got to have a generator. We've got to
make sure we have gas and propane, because sometimes we'll run out in the middle of the night and all of a sudden it's like, why is it so cold in here? Yeah,
we got to fill up propane tanks every couple of weeks, and you got to turn your water heater on when you want hot water. There's little things that are a bummer, but overall, I would say this has been a great choice for us. And every time we have reselling and we're making more money, we have like a system where we put some of it back into the business. We're making more capital for inventory, for covering expenses, for things we wanted to do. Like we did our summer road trip and we bought a trailer for that. So we have money for that, but we're also taking a portion of that and we're just throwing it on this fifth wheel. We're throwing it on here because we know that in this 5-year time frame, when we decide, okay, we're done with the fifth wheel, we want to buy a house, we can sell this. And it basically would be like the way we kind of decided, it would be like leaving a place you were renting for 5 years and then your landlord saying like, thanks for renting for me for 5 years. Here's $40,000, So it's nice to build the equity. Are there downsides? Is it tough being in a small place? There are a few, but overall, I would say we've loved it.
It hasn't been that bad. Yeah. I mean, I would have thought it would have been worse. I think originally when we said like, okay, if we're going to do this, if we're going to spend the money on this fifth wheel, we got to do 5 years. I think in the back of my mind, I was like, we'll see, I don't know. And now it's 2 years in and I'm completely fine here, like completely comfortable. My son has more than enough toys. He has tons of room to play outside. We're going to have another baby in here. We're almost halfway through our pregnancy. And so that's crazy to think is like that we're that comfortable that, another body in here doesn't make me nervous. So that's really exciting.
Yeah. So here's my advice. One, if this is something you're considering, we've had a few listeners, PRSL podcast, reach out, even say they even went and looked at some fifth wheels or some RVs. You gotta, just like anything, like we get questions all the time, like, should I get a store? At what point should I get a store? It all depends on where you're at, what's going on in your life. Because if you end up having to pay for a rental spot somewhere and you're paying for a fifth wheel and you buy a new fifth wheel instead of buying a used one,
fixing it up.
Yeah,
so many options.
If you're doing that, then you might end up paying just as much as you would for rent, and it might not be worth it for you. But you're still building the equity. Maybe you're paying more. So it really just depends. We're lucky enough to have this land that we can put it on, and our son has a ton of areas that he can play. But there's downsides to being in this land and not being out in the city. So it really just depends on what's going on. But here's my suggestion. If you are thinking about doing this with a spouse, right? Because that's what I think some of you are trying to figure out. Could you do small living, minimalist, and all of that with a family? If you can work with your spouse and you're not fighting all the time, which we have a really good working relationship, we don't have problems while we're working. We enjoy working together. Then you could probably live in a tight situation, and you might be surprised at how much it brings your family together.
Closer together, for sure. Yeah.
So would you say it was a good decision or a bad decision?
I would say it's probably one of the best decisions besides marrying you. Ooh. I think it was one of the best decisions we did. It's just nice to know we're not throwing money away It's nice to be home with my son. It's just nice to have the freedom of reselling. Mike's a teacher, so I mean, that's a definite bonus for us. I used to have to go to work in the summer while he stayed home, and now we take trips and we just have more family time. So, I mean, I would definitely say it was a win-win for us and for our situation. But yeah, like you said, it could not be for everybody. And we're not saying like, if you don't live this lifestyle, you're not a real reseller. It just, for us, this is the lifestyle that we've chosen. We really actually enjoy.
Yeah. So anyways, thank you guys for taking the time. If you like this video, if this is something you'd like to know more about, like what it's like living in a fifth wheel, small living, minimalism, we've got tips, we've got strategies. Let us know in the comments below. We can make more videos like this, or if you've got other ideas. Also, we have an Instagram. We're not super active on there, but you can follow us on Instagram. What is it?
It's treasure and trailer.
I thought it was trailer and treasure.
Oh, sorry. I think it is trailer and treasure.
That's how active we are.
We don't go on that much, but we do have like 400 followers, which we're very, thankful for.
So we'll put it in.
Yeah, we'll put it in the videos that you have it.
Yeah, so you can follow us there. We have some tips and tricks that we occasionally put on there. And
we just kind of show the daily life occasionally of what it looks like to be in such a small space.
Yeah. Anyways, you guys are awesome. So as always, make sure you're real, relevant, and reselling.
See ya.
Peace.